All right. So, hey, I got Thomas Miche of Miche Pest Control on the podcast, and we're going to be discussing a whole bunch of stuff. Hey, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thanks.
Yeah. You wrote into, we're going to be discussing a lot, I guess, a lot about SEO. And I guess you and I built your business similarly. We built it with just nothing more than SEO and social media. I mean, that's really what I've done for my business.
Cool.
Let's talk about yours. I mean, when did you get into the business, by the way? How did you get in?
So I got into pest control as a door-to-door sales rep.
Okay.
Did not build my business with door-to-door, but that's how I got into the business.
Right.
This was about 10, 11 years ago.
Right.
And there's a company that's local to the area I'm in now called Ecotech. They're no longer in business. They actually sold to Green Pest Services.
Okay.
And that's just how I got started.
Yeah. What state are you in, by the way?
So I live in Manassas, Virginia.
Okay.
But our service area goes clear up to the Delaware border.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So we do Virginia, Maryland, and DC.
Oh, okay. So you're tri-state. Okay. So you started out as door-to-door sales.
Yep.
And then how long were you in that before you got into your own business?
I did door-to-door sales for a couple years. Then
Okay.
I actually worked as a technician for Moxie.
Okay.
And then for Terminix.
Uh-huh.
I actually moved across the country for that. Chased my wife. That's a whole different story.
That seems to be that seems to be a running theme on on this podcast.
Is it?
Yeah, you're the second guy that's done that. Yeah, I forgot how his name. I just lost my train of thought, but he says, "Yeah, man, I went home and then I decided I met this girl. I'm gonna go back to propose her. He just went across the country, you know, and left to do the same thing. So luckily it worked out."
There you go.
Yeah, man. So
then
you start. How long have you been in business now?
So a little less than 2 years.
Got it. So yeah.
After I was a technician for Terminix, I went to be service manager there.
Okay.
And then I worked for Greenix for a few years, helped them start a bunch of new offices.
Got it.
And then I have 4 kids now. It's hard to travel
as
much as I was doing, so I started my own.
Got it. So yeah, when you're starting up branches, but that's great experience though. I mean, when you get to be at that level, you start understanding the business side.
Yep.
Because most pest technicians don't understand the sales, the marketing, or the business side. They understand the technical. And then they get in and they realize, oh, dang, this is hard.
They don't know anything.
Yeah. Being a technician is one thing. Being an owner and now responsible for 5, 6, 7 hats and having to know it all and learn it, at least, it gets difficult. I came from sales. So to me, sales, like I wasn't afraid to get into business because for me, sales was easy. I didn't have to, I wasn't good at marketing, but I was good at sales. So that was easier for me to build. I started getting, I think, my technician after, 2 years. I started hiring already, but I got into so many other things. I went down so many rabbit trails. Yeah, I was, I would have 3, 4 crews of 10, 12 people working subcontracts all the time. One painting condos, the other one was putting up fences. The other one was cleaning pools. And then after in 2013, at the end of 2013, I sat down and I looked at my income and I said, dang, I'm working all these hours. And the only thing really producing good money is pest control, because we had the pest control business too, on top of everything. This was 50% of our business was pest control. And I'm like, why am I working all these hours with all these crews, all these subcontractors going insane? And the income just couldn't, it was a 30% margin compared to 55, 60% that we were getting gross on the pest control. Yep. So that's when I decided, that's it. I'm just going to devote myself to pest control. And I was working I've always worked 80 hours. I just don't know how not to. It just depends on what I decide to do it in. But yeah, I was running myself ragged, running around stressed, working, 14 hours a day, and like it made no sense. So yeah. So sales and marketing, I think if people can really start learning sales and not be so afraid of it, because they have this door-to-door salespeople. Yuck. Sales, yuck. It's like leprosy when you talk about sales, but without it, you can't really grow it. So that's been the good part. So when did you start up?
So it was 2019. I didn't do full time until August. And
Right.
I was just growing it on Thumbtack for the most part to start. Lots of pay-per-lead stuff. And then as my website started gaining traction, I've been focusing more on the SEO portion.
All right. So I think that's important. Here I've had a terrible experience. And because I have a terrible experience on a platform doesn't mean it doesn't work for everybody. It just doesn't work where I'm at, because I was such in a niche business, and we figured out from day one that I would get more customers from SEO and YouTube, because nobody knew what the hell we were doing. Nobody knows what eco-friendly pest control is. You can't explain it. You can't explain IPM. You got to show people. And most people don't want to show what they do because you're giving away all the secrets. Like there's any secrets. So yeah. So it's when I show people by 5 steps to getting rid of roaches, they're like, just come and do it for us. It's too much work. So that's why I don't worry about it. So talk to me about Thumbtack and what was your experience there with that?
So initially, I bid on every single lead that came in.
Mm-hmm.
The way Thumbtack works, people go in, they request a bid from people. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of tire kickers.
Right.
So you're only ever going to sell a portion of them.
Okay.
Thumbtack gives you money back on a lead that doesn't even look at your bid within 48 hours.
Okay.
If you automatically pay for the lead.
Okay.
Only if you automatically pay for it. So I set up automatically paying for all of them.
Right.
I targeted everything. I automatically paid for everything, and we had a wide area. I noticed that the more you're willing to spend on Thumbtack, the more Thumbtack promotes you.
Right. And it's just the same across any other platform. I mean, when you're doing marketing, the guy who spends the most wins. I mean, that's just a reality. Whether it's yellow page ads, whether you want the whole page, and said you were the only guy on that page, whether you bought a front page in a magazine or a whole billboard, you bought 5 billboards within 5 miles, stretch. The more you spend, the more you're gonna potentially get more business. That's just the numbers game.
Yep. And to grow, I bid on everything.
Right.
Everything. I was sitting on my duff, so it's like, why wouldn't I?
Right. So you had the time, because it is time intensive to sit there and then micromanage these leads, because you got to okay, that didn't work out. Let me get my money back on this. That's work.
Yep.
Yeah.
There was a lot of work that went into it. And then I missed the lead because I was driving to go service something that I'd already sold. And I responded in 5 minutes. I took the time to pull over. And in that amount of time, I lost the job.
Right.
I was pissed. So I hired a technician pretty quick, and I decided if I can focus on selling,
right,
just filling someone else's schedule, we'll get more done than if I'm missing out on these leads that I'm paying for.
Right.
I just took the plunge and hired someone super quickly.
Right. See, and you were really smart at that, because I've had that conversation with a bunch of other people. These platforms you have to respond, whether it's Yelp or you have to be, you got to respond super quick. So what I've talked to people that are doing, and I know a couple of guys who've got $2-3 million companies doing, what they realized very quick is they had to have a person buy that phone designed, dedicated just for that. And that was their job. So he's actually doing it on a couple of platforms, and that goes directly to that salesperson. It doesn't go through the office phone system, and they got a cell phone that they're on, and they're on that. So if you're saying it didn't work for me, but you're in an attic and you say, I'll respond to this call as soon as I'm out of this out in an hour, forget about it. You're done.
Yeah. Never gonna work.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the secret to it for people like, oh, the platform doesn't work. It sucks. It's, no,
you just got to be faster. You got to be better.
And that's like on Yelp, and that's like on that one, and just a bunch of others. They're just designed. When I did it here in Miami, it would literally, the cost was so high on a lot of these platforms. I would literally respond within 5 seconds, and I could not get that person on the other end of the phone. On 90% of the time, nobody would respond. I would be calling back the platform and going, hey, listen, I've been calling these people 5 seconds. Here's when it came in, and I can show you when I responded to that call. And nobody picks up. And it was literally costing me, by the time I got through the lead cost, not the sales cost, the lead cost alone, it was about $250 to acquire a customer on those platforms for Miami. Miami is so cutthroat competitive. And they send it to 3 other companies.
Of course.
Yeah. So there's, so you're getting, well, I'm getting 3. This is where people get frustrated. They're saying, well, I'm paying $13 a lead. That's not a qualified lead. That's somebody with a heartbeat going, I think I want pest control. I'm interested in the idea of pest control. It's your job to qualify and sell. And where a lot of guys fall apart is they don't know how to sell and close. Because you got
their time spending an hour on the phone to find out they don't service the area.
Yeah. So a whole lot goes into this about that dedication. That was brilliant that you recognized. Yeah, I could make more money selling, because you're a salesman. You were created for something, and that was it. You weren't created really for the tech part. The tech part is the business part. It's your dues, I guess. You got to pay to, but that, I think it's vital that you got that right away.
Yep, I agree. And then the next best thing I did was I dedicated someone to doing all the messages and stuff, just like you'd said.
All right, so
I could focus on other things.
Right. So what was this part of the business?
So I've been focusing. So right away, we needed 4 trucks up and rolling.
Right.
That's just all from Thumbtack. Thumbtack was responsible for 3 of the 4 trucks to start.
Wow.
And that was just in a couple months that we did that. It was honestly, it's crazy.
All right. So let me ask you this, and let's talk about ROI for a minute, because that's phenomenal. I mean, that you're able to do it just on that platform.
It was about a $9 per dollar spent on Thumbtack. Return on advertising spent.
9 to 1.
9 to 1.
So that's freaking amazing. Because if I could get 6 to 1, I'd be tickled to death here in Miami.
Right.
I mean, I'd be tickled.
Most platforms, that's not the case, but we've done very well on Thumbtack.
So you figured out how it worked for you, and then you figured out how you could milk it, and on arbitrage against that.
Milked the heck out of it. Now we set the record on Thumbtack. Our first full quarter in business, we set the record for the number of hires and reviews.
Jeez, how many guys you got now?
So we have 7 now. Thumbtack customers don't last super long.
In 2 years?
2 years, less than 2 years.
Right. So the turnover is high for those clients because.
Yep.
And what's the reason?
The best retaining platform.
Right.
A lot of them are. We get a lot of stuff for people selling the home, people that renovate houses, flip them.
Got it.
Like that's one of the key demographics of Thumbtack, is the best way to put it.
Okay.
So we don't naturally get a ton of long-term clients, but it's still responsible for almost half of our long-term clients, our active recurring customer base.
Right. So when we're looking at you got about a 50% retention with that platform. Yeah. So a lot of it is, how long do they usually stay with you? Is it just the initial service? You solve the problem and then
there's a good amount of that.
Yeah. Okay.
But we're able to retain a decent amount of them. It's about 50% of the people in total that we're able to service have
Right.
stuck.
Yeah. So and what I want to and that's not necessarily bad. A lot of people are going to listen to that and say, "Oh my God, you've got a
That's a
50%
terrible retention.
It's a
That's what
terrible
they're gonna do.
retention. Yeah, you got a terrible retention rate and you have a huge turnover of clients. You must not be doing a good job because you're losing all those clients."
No, they're all saying we killed all the bugs.
Yeah. So what happens is it's just the nature of that beast.
Yep.
That if you go into that, you realize that that's going to be it. But if you're getting a 9-to-1 return and you're getting a 50% retention rate, you can keep duplicating that all day long.
Yep.
And that's what you've done because you've grown in what, 2 years to 7 people.
Yep.
Yeah. And people don't get that makes no sense. That why would you go with that model? The model makes sense for you. You understand the game.
Yep. It's just understanding the pieces that are on the board and how to use them.
Yeah.
Understanding the shape of the board.
Yeah. So for a lot of people that doesn't make sense. Our customers are so different because our customers are that vegan, yoga, Zen. She's the wife that's the trophy wife that, husband makes, 15 million and she doesn't get to do anything all day. That's our client for what I sell. So I got to sell it up here, but our customer retention rate is like 96%. Our callback. Yeah. And so, but it's slow.
Yep.
Now what I got to figure out is how much mud do I need to throw on the wall to duplicate that number? And I basically got it. I got it 10x what I've been doing. That works for me. So instead of posting once, three to 5 times a week, we got to go to 5 times a day.
Yep.
And so that's why I decided I'm building my own in-house media company versus depending on those platforms that I don't own the content. Yep. I don't own that because it's just my market and my clientele that I went into is just so drastically different.
Yep.
So I got to play this longer game. And to some people, that's for a guy like you, like, oh my God, that would take forever.
Yeah.
And could I think about stomaching that 50% loss the way I'm wired? You see, so it's all this mind game. It really is. It doesn't have to do anything with the reality. It's what you're able to accept mentally, that this is the game, this is it. And just do what you do.
Yep.
Yeah. So now you're going into SEO. I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off on your thought there.
You're fine. I actually lost it. So
you're like,
sometimes they're quick and they're gone.
Yeah. No, I know. It happens to me constantly. I'm like, oh, look, a distraction. But yeah, so now you're focusing on the SEO and tell me how that whole process is going for you. What's been your experience there?
Yeah. So one of the first things I did, I've always known that my website and SEO was going to be the best long-term thing I could do.
Right.
Because ultimately, when it comes down to it, Thumbtack is my competitor.
Yep.
Yelp is my competitor.
Yeah.
Angie's List, like all of them, they're all paying for ads to try and beat out the top spot to give business to other people and me, maybe.
Yeah.
They just want to make money off me that way. I would rather build something that attracts people, the right people,
right,
to my business and creates a great long-term customer.
Right. Yeah. And so, that's about building your brand. And that is the long game. That's what I focused on from the get-go, realizing that this is going to be like salmon, against the tide constantly. Because what most people think is that, and this is where I've been having the discussion, and I had several of these discussions over at that conference this weekend with a lot of people. Everyone I met told me I paid an SEO company to do our SEO and nothing happened. One lady was paying $2,000 a month for an entire year, realizing it wasn't producing anything, but she was so busy because of all the other stuff they were doing.
She didn't even know, didn't follow up
until she decided to ask the question, what the heck are we getting? What's our ROI? So you got to be on it. You got to be like policing the police kind of deal if you're going to be in that game.
Yep.
And the brand, your brand is over time, and that takes time to build. It took me 2 years to rank on the first page of Google in Miami. I had to eat my way up through several hundred companies that were there longer. So it's a strategy of, it's a competitive sport.
Yeah.
If he's got 2,000 keywords, you need 201.
Yep.
And if he's got 200 blogs, you need 201.
Yep.
If the top guy up there, who's the top guy, and what does it take to beat him?
Yep.
And you got to
company in my area has over 1,000 pages.
Right.
So I'm working on it.
That's the reality, and that's what people can't stomach either. Like, they're paying a company $500 a month and thinking, how much work is this guy going to put in writing you one blog a month and telling you he's doing all this SEO? And it's like, where are you? There's like 15 components, like directories listing, social media, SEO on the website. And you think you're getting all this for $500 a month. And he's been on it for a year. And I said, dude, you're getting 41 clicks a month. And you've spent a year. I get 6,000 clicks in the off season. In my peak season, we're at 17,000 clicks a month on our website. But that took 2.5 years to get it there. We are ranking nationally right now for our key terms. For natural pest control, we're on the front page of Google right now. National. I'm getting calls from all over the country. We don't service your area. People thinking we service their area because we're ranking. But that's what I set out to do long term.
You could monetize that.
We are, because we're creating a network we're trying to create a network now for like pest control businesses like mine that do the eco-friendly thing, that do IPM, to be able to give them those leads.
There you go.
And we're trying to figure it out. But I wanted to be national because I needed to make my brand recognized, and I had to put in that work. So while everybody was sleeping, I was 9 o'clock till 2 in.the.morning writing content every single night for 2.5 years.
Yep.
And when your guy has 1,400 words on those blog, you need 1,600 words. It's a competitive sport. You got to figure out what it takes to outdo your competition. And if you're not willing to pay it, don't even enter that game. Go spend. I would have rather some of these guys spend $500 a month on Facebook ads.
Yep.
Because
then you're at least getting impressions. It's doing something.
And you're getting clicks, and you're getting clicks to your website. Somebody's giving you a call. You got to measure that ROI. If you're not measuring the ROI, how the heck do you know what you're doing is working? When I talk to guys about A/B split testing ads, they look at me like deer in the headlights. What are you talking about? That's new to me. Yeah, I mean, if you're not split testing your ads, how do you even know your ads are working? Which one works better? Are they going to run one ad? I'm running 4 ads right now. One for ants, one for rodents, one for roaches, and one for mosquito.
Yep.
And so that's easy $200 a month on testing to see which one is going to produce it. That's just testing. So I'm going to jump $1,000 into testing in the next 30 days when I do A/B split testing with a different ad and seeing which one does it. And that's what you got to do to play that game.
Yep.
So what is it you're experiencing though? Yeah.
So we're split testing through Google, doing the display ads.
How much are you dumping into that?
25 a day right now is all.
$25. Okay, but that's still substantial.
Yep.
Yeah, and how many ads you got running?
So we have an ant ad, mosquito ad, rodent ad, termite ad right now.
Okay, you're pretty close. I mean, we're not doing termite yet, so we can't advertise it. We're not certified yet for termite. What is? I'd be interesting. What's your? I mean, as far as your long-term money maker, is it general household pest, ants, roaches? Yeah. That's your long-term. And for your icing on the cake is termite.
So we get a lot of rodent specific stuff.
Really? Oh, where you're at?
Yeah, we're DC Baltimore, so they
Yeah,
make the news.
that's right. Yeah. They made the news. So what about like I got calls from a guy out in he's in the DC area, the Virginia, DC area,
Okay.
and he called me and says, "Man, I'm in this 100-year-old townhouse, and I how do I exclude? I've been watching all your videos." He started doing it. He actually followed my videos on Nature Pest, which is my channel, and he
Yep.
learned how to actually exclude it. He said, "I just got little mice now." And that one's been tough. I can't figure out how the heck they're getting into this townhouse. And I basically, you got to trap them and you got to keep looking and you got to keep digging, figuring it out outside. I mean, what are you going to do? They're sandwiched. What if the next door neighbor isn't excluding? They're getting in. So, it's tough. It's a tough little gig, especially in certain areas for exclusion and keeping those guys. You're in the winter still, right? Are you guys thawing out already?
It's thawing out a little bit. We've had
Yeah.
a couple warm spots.
Yeah. What do you got most there as far as rodents? Is it mice right now or is it a rats?
So we get house mice and Norway rats for the most part.
Norway rats? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Lots
got
of Norway rats.
Are you experiencing roof rats?
We get some, but it's definitely mainly Norway.
Okay, because we were just at the conference and one person that was he was up in the Northeast, traditionally was roof rat. I mean, for Norway rats.
Yep.
The roof rats move in and displaced the Norway rats.
Really?
And yeah, and he says for a couple of years now that's been the case, where they started moving in and displacing them, and that I found that to be very interesting. So because and what's explained is because of the warmness that we've had, they've been moving north little by little, and they're much more aggressive than Norway's, territorial wise. So they will displace them. So that's interesting. So and then you doing termite work.
Yep.
So what else are you doing with SEO? What have you figured out that is working for you?
Oh man. So I've been on Clubhouse a lot.
Man, I haven't had a chance to get in yet.
Do you have an iPhone?
No, that's the thing. I use all Androids. I'm gonna have to get me an iPhone. Yeah.
I think they're going to release Android. I don't know when though.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping because I said, man, I can get in on that.
But I've been following mainly SEO stuff, just soaking it all in, listening to these people. Everything from schema markup to making sure, obviously, headers, meta description, title, all of that needs to be optimized. The content needs to be optimized.
Right.
Alt text, title, everything matters.
Yeah, everything. I have a list that I did originally when I started researching SEO. This goes back, 5-6 years now, and it was 20 things on a page that you needed to do.
Yep.
All of that, and
really more than that now.
Yeah, it is more. I got to update it. I haven't really, but it's still working for us. Even if you get 80% right, the problem is that your competition really is lazy, and they're national, so they're not focused. They're not hyper focused. So what is it, for those, you just spoke Greek to us, just a whole bunch of people, latent semantic indexing and all that. I mean, how much work have you put in personally to understanding it?
Personally, to understanding it, it's been the number one thing that I've listened to for over a year now, is lots of YouTube videos, even podcasts.
Yeah.
Just, I've learned a lot about SEO, and I'm learning that I don't know anything about SEO too.
As you should. Yeah, it's always the case. Oh, I lost you.
Sorry, I got a call coming in.
Oh, that's what happens.
Yeah, let me flip back.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. So how many hours do you think you've put into this, to learning?
Shoot, between learning and doing it, more than a full-time job's worth over the last year.
Yeah, that's the reality.
Like, I'm probably 50 hours a week just learning and doing SEO.
Yeah.
Not counting anything else I do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the reality. Most people don't understand. So this is what I laugh when somebody tells me I'm going to spend 500, 1,000, 2,000. For a guy to do the amount of SEO work that I've done on a yearly basis, I would have to pay a company something like 10 grand a month for the amount of content I put out. I mean, literally, we put out 2.5 hours of content a day right now for Pestgeek podcast only. I have a part-time guy now that's his job.
Cool.
And that takes 20 hours a week. He's going to now start doing Nature Pest. We're going to start working on the website and producing content for Nature Pest 5 days a week. And that's distributed across 7 social media platforms. That's one video for YouTube, one video custom for Instagram, one video for TikTok, and then shared across everything else custom.
So why would you not repurpose content? Use like a TikTok video, repurpose it for reels and all the other stuff.
Yep. That's what we're doing now. We take a lot of my full-length podcast and we take up chunks of that, and we're going to flood TikTok 7 times a day on repurposing the whole content. If you probably listen to Gary Vee a lot. Fair amount, right? So I've been listening to Gary Vee for 3 years, but I was doing this before I even noticed who the heck Gary Vee was. Intuitively, I knew that I'm comfortable in front of a camera. I'm comfortable in front of a microphone. I have the knowledge to share, and that's what I focused on. Then I started writing blogs on my unique niche was that I was writing blogs on plant healthcare. Nobody was. So I found my niche, and I said, I'm in LNO. I mean, we were 95% LNO before I decided in 2013 to launch General Household Pest. Now we're about 60-40. Household Pest is taking that over. And then we're going to enter into termites this year. And I decided I'm going to write a lot of content. So we would take all of the university articles on plants and just rewrite them. And then we would just rank above that. People are like, how are you outranking us? And there's 200 pages on that, and you've got 1,400 words. I says, because I know what it takes to SEO that page, and you didn't. You just wrote the content, sat on your laurels and saying, we're a university. People are going to read our stuff.
Yep.
Nobody's going to read. Yeah.
But the quality of the content matters, not just the authority of the person writing it.
Yeah. And then what we're sitting back is we're a university. We've got privileged SEO with Google because we're an edu, a .edu. But the problem is you didn't write that in a way that a homeowner is going to understand it. You wrote it from the perspective of a compliance person, and I wrote it from the perspective of a marketer.
Yep.
And I got their attention. And that's so that attitude, like you can be the smartest guy in pest control and you won't write it because you're afraid to get criticized by your competition because you dumbed it down. And I like, are you writing for your competition or are you writing for your customer? I'm writing, I'm customer centric. I could care less what you think, how I got that wrong.
Yep.
Like people, well, you didn't use the word exclusion. Like a customer understands the word exclusion. Yeah. It doesn't, I mean, I'll write articles all day with SEO on exclusion, and all I am going to get is a bunch of people from the industry giving me high fives, but I didn't make a penny.
Yep.
So that's the whole thing also with writing and creating content. Aren't you afraid people are going to steal your stuff? Like I got that question asked 20 times at the conference. I said, steal it all. Steal it all. The problem is here's the thing. I can give you all of this knowledge and give it all away. And the fact is you're still too lazy to go spend 40 hours a week researching it and putting it into practice because it's a 1% game.
Yep.
And that's you got to put in the work. So even if I told people spend $1,000 to go take a course on SEO, if you want it, I want it all digested for me because I really don't want to put in 40, 50 hours for the next 2 years. And then I'll say, go spend $1,000. Oh, I'm not going to spend $1,000. All this stuff is free on the internet. Well, you still got to go search for it. That's how many hours, at $125 an hour that you're worth as a solo operator. Yeah, and
Adds
then
up.
it adds up, and then do you have the ability to discern this is crap, this is real? And you got to discern that. You got to know which one are you. Am I getting sunshine pumped up my tailpipe by this guy, or is what? And then the top of that, you only get about one nugget per video,
Yep.
and you got to
Usually.
know, where that nugget's buried. It's like
Yep.
digging for gold. You got all that gold, but you still got to push 10,000 pounds of dirt to get to the gold.
Yep.
And then I mean, it took me that long. I would literally sit there and watch video after, but I went and took a class. I took an all-day class from an agency that was, this is how they got their clients. They would give a free one-day class on everything that you had to do to rank. It oozes out of your ears.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, you're saying, I'll just hire them. The same thing with Pest. That's how I got. Same thing with Pest. I'll just give it all away.
Yep.
And then let the customer sort it out if he can do this or not. And that's his problem.
That's what Neil Patel does too.
Yeah, that's what Gary Vee does. That's what everybody that is people don't understand content marketing. You have to give it all away. You're going to get that 1% that's willing to pay you for that. Everybody else is going to try it and still fail.
And call you.
And I was laughing. I was laughing this weekend as I was sitting in the conference on Sunday morning. I get an email from Facebook from a client, a potential client, a prospect, and says, "Oh, I've put DE all over my house. I did this, I did that, and then I watched your video, and then I realized I did it all wrong. How much do you charge for you to do it?" So I'm quoting the price over text.
Yep.
And she said, "Okay,
we quote everything over text and phone.
That's it." And I was sitting there till this lady, we were having a conversation the night before. This is why I chose video, and I says, "Here you go." And I do this all day long.
Yep.
This was Sunday, so I don't usually answer on Sunday, but I was in the conference and I was listening, and I might as well take the opportunity. She would have waited for Monday morning. No questions asked, because she's seen what I've done. I've got people calling. Funny part is I got people calling right now from all over the country, and I'm saying I'm giving these referrals out for free. Say, "Hey man, you're in California. I'm gonna shoot you over a referral." And it's funny because she says, "Oh, do you do it just like Frank does in the video? Because if not, I'm getting somebody else." That's branding.
Yep.
And when you got 195 videos out, I mean, I've got between Pestgeek and Nature Pest, I think we're hitting 400 videos.
Cool.
And here's the thing. That's nothing. In the grand scheme of thing, unless I get 1,000 videos, it won't matter. I don't delude myself thinking, "Oh, I got 200 videos. Great."
200 is nothing.
It's nothing. I need 1,000. I got a 10-year goal to be America's pest control guy.
There you go.
Is somebody beeping at you, bro? They like, you're in my way. You're parking in my spot.
I don't know what they're doing. It's some landscaping company.
Oh, okay. They're blocking the way.
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
They're
So
out of that building.
So how is that SEO project working for you? Like, how far are you in it right now? How much content are you creating?
So since January, I can't remember what point in January it was, but when I really started hitting the content producing heavy, I've more than doubled the number of pages.
Okay.
And the average length per page has gone up probably about 20%. So I know it's working. I use SEMrush to keep an eye on things. It's pretty helpful.
Yeah, I like both.
You know about it because I saw you take a screenshot of that on Facebook the one day.
Yeah. No, I like them. They're a little bit more pricey than SpyFu.
Yep.
So, and when I looked at both of them, pretty close. We just went with SpyFu right now to do it, and then I'll probably get an SEM rush, and because I haven't done it for the longest time. I haven't done any SEO other than produce videos and Pestgeek, because it's really on autopilot. It's still, I mean, I've got the maximum number of pages. Now we're going to start writing pages for other counties that we're going into and cities. So we're going to be writing a lot of city pages now, probably 60 city pages that we have to write for one county.
Yep. That probably half of the cities in my service area I have a page for right now.
Yeah. We've got we got to write. There's 66 cities In Dade County, there's about another 50 something in Broward, and we got to write pages for all those areas. What
So
I'm
are you
trying
writing
to
pages before you go there? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, we'll just start writing out the pages. We're already hitting that county. We're already going into that whole county. We've been in part of that county, half of it, about a third of that county for a year, over 2 years now.
Okay.
Because what we did is the way all our highway system is, it's pretty bad moving around in Miami-Dade. It's like it is in Baltimore, and
It's pretty bad.
it's pretty bad. So what I've done is I focused on what I did for the longest is we got the turnpike that runs like this right through the counties. And what I did forever is focus on that corridor of getting on and off that turnpike right there. So we focused on all the cities that were on that corridor. And that's what I did all the way up into Broward for 50 miles of that corridor so that we can easily get on and off for route density efficiency. Where we couldn't get route density, we can get efficiency in the traffic. And now we're pretty much getting calls from everywhere. I'm even getting calls from the following county, which we'll get into next year. But that's what I've been focusing on. So, I mean, the website has 150 pages and the blog has about 200 pages on the blog. The pages are all
way later than that right now.
Yeah. So you got to create, it doesn't end. It's like, it becomes this consuming addiction. And that's the game. So I couldn't focus on too many things. So I decided, let me do blog and let me do YouTube videos. And it's so hard to rank on YouTube. I mean, I picked the hardest thing to do. But once you start ranking, I mean, we saw the increase of 25% in subscribers after year 5, where we were like, how did we got the algorithms figuring us out? And we went and I said, okay, I'm going to add another 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. We added those subscribers in 3 months. So now I'm going to be probably the goal now is to get up to 10,000 subscribers as fast as we can on YouTube. And the algorithm is like so easy to rank for on TikTok. We're like not taking advantage of it. You're an idiot. So we're writing for that. And then, but that's what I'm focused on. I'm focused on the visual audio aspect, which is easily consumed. And then what I'll do is I'll write a blog around it and embed that video. It gives you additional SEO for that page. Plus we're going to come up with I'm coming up with 4 podcasts this year.
Okay.
So I'm doing Pestgeek. We got Godly Business going. I'm going to create the DIY pest control podcast, which we've already had it in testing for 2 years, buried inside my pages. We know what numbers we've been getting testing. So I said the time is now to launch that. And that we're going to use to network for leads, for creating a network. People don't get it that we can give everything away and, and people still call. So it doesn't matter. And we got that one. And then I'm doing the plant show because I'm so heavily into, that's why you see me. I don't know if you see my Facebook, my page, all this stuff from gardening. Most of the stuff they're publishing now is like from marijuana. So everybody thinks I'm in marijuana. I've actually never touched this stuff in my life, but that's what that's what the growers, growing magazines and all that. And these used to be nursery growers. Now they're starting to talk about, marijuana because that's the next big crop for everybody. So
it's the one that most people have the least experience with because it's a newer legal thing. So I get it.
Yeah. So it's popping up constantly. And because I'm subscribed probably to, agricultural magazines and golf course magazine, anything that had to do with horticulture and plant healthcare, I was involved in. So I learned a lot from doing lawn and ornamental from agriculture. That's where I really learned it. And then I finessed it with golf course. So I took all that experience from agriculture and I never learned L&O from the industry. So we're going to be on all that, influencing that area because the plants are what people really like to put in their home. So it really brings in a lot of, and it's going to be a sponsored, both of them by Nature Pest, my brand. So I'm focused on building brand, because if I decide to, because my goal was to franchise, but I need the branding before you can franchise. I need a proven model.
You need systems too.
I need systems. So I was having a conversation with a lady says yesterday. So I watch all your stuff. She's got 30 techs.
Okay.
Says all our people watch all your videos. They love it. I love what you guys are doing. And she told me, I said, but I see you more and more into coaching and teaching than building your company. And I said, no, you're right. The reason my company is I have it is because it's a freaking lab for me to test everything.
Yep.
We can test everything. We can test the marketing. We can test process, protocol, procedures. And so that was original goal, is to create a franchise. It's still in the back of my head. I'm always tossing up whether I want to build it the traditional way like you're doing it, or do I want to build it with other people's money. But you got to have branding. You got to have a proven concept.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm focusing on.
What you might do is hire someone who's like built a franchise before. Say, how'd you do it with that one? Let's just replicate the process with Nature Pest, with what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I will probably have to bring in a director of franchising that is sole job this to do that. But we got to put some, you got to put, every time you want to do something, you got to put some serious bucks behind it. You can't wing it.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, I'm going to have to throw $100,000 at that easily.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that's for the first year just to do the marketing. But I figured if I've got the brand equity, I can then choose what the heck I want to do with it. And, and that's what I focused on, is the brand equity. So, but what else you got going on? I mean, it looks like you got a lot of irons in the oven. But I'm sorry, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Yeah. So we're actually going to, so we've been expanding territory wise. I think we're going to focus and start really densifying, especially with gas prices going up, and because we're super spread out right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's been my challenge too. I lost you again.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I got you back.
Yeah, it's been super spread out to this point. So I think densifying things is going to be the way to go.
Yep.
Really, we built a reputation. We have over 1,000 reviews online, 4.9 star rating.
Amazing.
So we're doing well with that. Now I think it's time to really build the brand before we start adding areas. And if we add an area, we're going to want to go big and get at least a couple thousand customers at a time to make sure we have some sort of scale when we do it.
Right.
Yeah, we have a ton of things in the oven.
Yeah, no, that's
actually looking at doing some door to door.
Right. You're going to integrate that because you've got the money to be able to pay for that cost, because that's a high cost of trying to do that. People who want to do it, it's an extremely high cost. Yeah, and if you got the experience to actually train a door-to-door team, then that gets very expensive too. Because I mean,
I wasn't that good at door to door. I was okay.
Okay.
But knowing what it can do, as far as I hire a team of people and say, I want 2,000 customers right here, then they give it to you and you have 3, 4, 5 routes, whatever you build your company around.
Right.
And to be able to have that type of density, like when you have density, you have gross margin. Like,
yes, of course. Yeah, you make up for it. I mean, even if you lose, like you said, 50% in that area because people decided
it's way more than that.
Yeah, and so the whole idea is that you got the density, which cuts your cost. And the ROI really is on the longevity of that customer that does stay. Over, you know, it's going to produce $10,000 in profit if they stay with you over 5 years. So that's where you want. That's where you want it's about having that knowledge of that strategy. A lot of people just don't know what they don't know. And since it is mystical for them, they're like, oh, that can't work. Those numbers can't work. But yet companies are building massive companies. Yes, they will leave and they will go for somebody else. And it always, I mean, I've got guys here who are building density, and their customers are staying with them. It's not. So it always has to do with the market too. I mean, demographics, psychographics, sociographics have a lot to play. What works in one area of the country isn't really going to work everywhere. Like nobody's successfully done it in South Florida. They haven't done
Nobody?
it. Nobody successfully have done door to door. None of the companies have done it. The reason is the law. You got to be W-2 employees. Have to. You can't. And then I've seen the large brands do it. So they're doing more. I even see the guys who specialize, like Aptiv, are not doing door to door. They're doing social media and AdWords. I mean, I see their AdWords
all doing that here too.
Yeah. So they're doing door to door. Yeah, but they're doing mostly AdWords, is what I see in the marketing. But it's very tough to do it in South Florida. You got too many gated communities. We live in a society that's pretty much, I would say probably 50% of what's available now is gated. You can't do it in gated communities. You will get totally banned from the community from even performing services if you do it. So you can't do it. You got to go direct mail. You got to go Facebook. You got to go and do it. So again, if you can do it successfully, great, more power to you. I'm not this guy that sits there and judges what another company's doing. They understand their business. You're looking at it from the outside. You don't understand the business. You don't understand the mindset. You don't understand the training. You don't understand the education of that owner, how they chose to do it, why they chose to do it that way. It's not easy doing door-to-door sales and building you got to motivate those suckers every day. You better be like a Tony Robbins every day.
Yep.
And it comes at a huge cost to bring those guys in, keep them in hotels, whatever you have to do to bring them in. People don't understand, if you hire a company that does door to door, you pay 100% of the cost of that annual contract. And you plus sometimes, and then you have a 50% cancellation rate. It's a huge cost.
It all depends on a lot of things.
Yeah, it's the strategy. You got to know the strategy before you can judge it. To understand it. So I'm not, I understand the game. A lot of these guys are doing pest control, don't understand the business, don't understand the numbers. It doesn't make sense to them. It makes sense to me, depending on the strategy. And like right now, I'm going to get super aggressive with route density, but I'm going to probably do it with Facebook ads and local ads on a lot of that. When I go into termite, if I decide to use a place like Thumbtack or Yelp, I will probably only target termite customers on Yelp. That's it. What do you think?
I don't know.
What have you done?
So what have I done? I've done
on Yelp.
Home Advisor, on Yelp. The biggest thing I've noticed, and this is why we have 3 locations already.
Mm-hmm.
It's because Yelp only allows you to advertise in a 15-mile radius.
Mm-hmm.
You can designate service areas as much as, I think it's 100 miles away. But as far as the actual advertising goes, the maximum radius at the moment is 15 miles.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why we have 3 branches. I'm looking at eventually doing an office per county. That's a lot.
Yeah. Let me talk to you about that strategy, because for us, it's probably more difficult. What is required for you to open up a branch from the legal aspect?
You have to have, obviously, all the regular business licensing that you would normally need. You need the pesticide business license, you need commercial applicator, and obviously any registered technicians that you have out working.
Yeah. Same here. We got to have a certified operator. We can work under our license. We only need 1 license, but we need a certified operator. And that takes 3 years to become a certified operator in Florida.
Yeah. So it's 2 years in Virginia, unless you have reciprocity, which you can get it sooner if you're licensed in another state that they are reciprocal with.
Yeah.
I think it's the same in Maryland. I reciprocated into that one.
Yeah. See, here you can't. They don't reciprocate with anybody. So you better have an entomology degree, and then you can do 1 year of experience. If not, you got to go for the full 3 years. with a company. So for me to open up a branch, I got that tech has to stay with me for 3 years.
Yep.
Or I have to go out and say, yeah, I've got, 55,000 a year, 55 to 65,000 a year for a certified operator who can be a branch manager. The problem is most certified operators don't have any business experience of running a branch. They don't
Yep.
have sales experience.
That's the problem.
They got technical experience, and most CPOs that I talk to, I mean, are basically doing, we're going to do this, we're going to spray baseboards. I mean, they're still in that mentality. So just because I hired a certified operator doesn't mean he's going to fit into our brand and our culture
Yep.
of how we do it to be able to grow that branch. And he's going to, and then have, can he read a P&L? I got to groom a guy.
Most of them not.
Or I have to bring in a guy from another industry,
Yep.
like a manager who ran, a nice big restaurant with, 25 million a year restaurant, like a Cheesecake Factory.
Yep.
And say he understands business. He understands how to manage lead people. Now he needs to spend 3 years with me becoming a tech and a manager in order for him to be able to qualify to take the state exam. It's not that easy to grow the way people think it is. In some states like New Jersey, you can go there and, sign up for the, and if you can pass the exam, you can be in
Yep.
business. That's it. There's no 2 years, 3 years, nothing. You can just go in and start a company.
Yep.
So it depends. It depends where you're at. Like why I've been able to do what I do. Well, what you do works where you are. You got to know
different everywhere.
It's different everywhere. So when people start asking, what did you do on Facebook and what did you do on this, on groups, I laugh because I said, yeah, but man, you're getting a snapshot. It's like looking at a negative of 50 pictures and you got one snapshot and you're trying to make a whole picture. And then you're taking that advice, this advice from a guy in Delaware and this guy from a guy in Nebraska. And you're thinking if you put all this together, you're going to have a system.
Yep.
You got 7 bean soup. You have no idea what's going to happen. So let me ask you, what's your educational background? Because you seem to be really perceptive of picking up a lot of things.
I dropped out of college.
Okay.
Certified in probably a dozen states though, in pest control.
Got it. Yeah, so the thing is, you've seen a lot of the aspects.
I've seen a lot of the aspects, and not only that, when my wife was going to school, I didn't actually attend any classes, but I read all of her books. I sat in on a lot of the actual classroom stuff. So I learned a lot of it through her.
Yeah.
And when I worked at Terminix, became service manager there, I focused not just on managing the service team. That's, to me, the easy part. You have to understand how the big business works, and you have to understand systems. I was fortunate enough to have a branch manager, even when I was a technician, that focused on teaching us about top line, bottom line, and the different stuff that goes into it. And then after I became service manager, I was able to dive into the P&L and like really start understanding how that works.
Right.
And right after I got that experience, Greenix hired me and I did a lot for them.
Right.
Like they took a chance on me.
Right.
And I just did the best I could to make it worth their buck.
Yeah. How old are you now?
32.
Okay. So that's a lot of experience under your belt at a very young age, which helps.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then plus I think you're entrepreneurial by nature because you couldn't really do, I mean, that's DNA. You can't, a lot of this can't be duplicated because you can see it, you're intuitive, but it wasn't taught to you. You know, so that a lot of that has to do with that spirit and that DNA that you have to saying, yeah, I get it. Let's just keep doing this. Let's do this. Let's do this. And then plus you add the experience in, and I think this is the problem. I think you had a great branch manager.
Yep.
I worked under guys like that actually wanted to teach me the business. And if you're a top line leader, that you're not insecure, that you know,
Yep.
you can really pass that down to create consciousness for your people.
Yep.
If a tech understands how the business runs and why it is that we are doing it this way, then the tech understands why he can't waste the time, why he can't waste the product. You know, there's a culture that gets created where those guys that are lower end eventually leave because they don't fit in that culture, and the guys who are like you stick around and excel because of leaders like that. I mean, I would venture to say that was pretty successful branch if he was doing that with all of his people and helping his people understand. It would be very, and you don't get too many of those in the industry.
He didn't communicate super well
Right.
as far as like getting the buy-in. He didn't sell everyone on it. A lot of the technicians really kind of said, "Oh, why do we have to do this? Like, I don't care. Like, let me just show up and get my check." It's like,
Yeah.
they were the wrong fit for the company anyway. At least that branch,
Right.
as far as what
And
the
that's what I'm
branch
talking about.
manager was trying
It's
to do.
about fit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't a good fit. I was fortunate enough to see what he was trying to do and to understand why he was trying to do it.
Right. But you're
So,
intuitive. You get it. You know, you're like, and then you're that you have the right makeup, the right internal makeup to fit there with him.
thank you.
Yeah.
I try.
Yeah.
I try to be semi not dumb.
Right. But yeah, but you know, like I was never like people like, you know, they listen to me and it's like, dude, where did you get your degree from? I says, bro, I don't have an entomology degree. But dang
Yep.
it, I can read.
Yep.
And I
You
like
don't
tech.
have to have 4 years of school to know something. Like, if you
Right.
want to know it, look it up, find it.
Right.
It's all there.
I just devote myself wholeheartedly to it, to being really good at that.
Yep.
And people, I mean, I'm talking to guys who are ACEs and BCEs, they're agronomers. It interests me and I want to be the best at it. So I go and this is why I will spend, like you're doing, the 50 hours on learning SEO, because I need to be good at it. I'm not going to wait until somebody teaches me a course for $59.
Yep.
I'm going to pay the real price, which is the most important thing I have that I can never get back, is time.
Yep.
And I'm going to invest in it because it matters to me. So yeah, bro. I mean, I've seen some really good managers. I think that we're in the age of transparency where
Yep.
are you practicing that with your techs? The whole
Yeah.
issue of helping them understand the business side.
Yeah. I make sure they all understand what I'm doing, why.
Right.
I'm trying to teach them all of the back end of it.
Right.
Like, yeah, some of them, we just had one leave who wants to start his own business, but he was never going to last forever anyway.
Right.
He's always wanted to start his own business. So let's help him get the knowledge he needs,
Right.
and he'll do the best he can while he's here, which is
Yeah.
all I can ever ask for.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I had a guy, we were having lunch and we've talked forever. We were constantly, because he's here in Florida. He's like, you know, an hour and a half from me, but we've never had a chance to actually hook up. He says, bro, I started my company when I heard your podcast. He had been I think an 11 or 13-year tech for a large local company here. And he said, and I did a podcast, Are You Breeding Your Competitors by the way you treat them?
Yep.
And you can create competitors that are going to go out and be thankful and be successful, or you can create competitors that are going to leave bitter and angry at you and be spiteful. And
Yep.
and you, I would just rather, if you're going to go compete against me, that I train you up, because the worst mistake I could ever make is not train you enough because I'm afraid that you're going to leave. The worst thing that could ever happen to you is that you actually stay.
Yep.
I would rather you move on and be more successful than to be mediocre and stay with me.
Yep.
So I push people to be the best that they can be. And our company is always going to be as good as our weakest technician.
Oh yeah. It's not the great ones that everyone hears horror stories about.
Right. No. Yeah, I need to focus on if the organization, and I'm learning this little by little too, if the organization is raising the bar and the people that are players, the A and B players are raising the bar, you're going to have people that are C players. And they're and they're going to be C players not because they're bad employees. There's a difference. They're going to be C players because they can't rise up to the level that the organization is rising now, the quality.
Yep.
And they will have to leave and go somewhere else. It says, would you get rid of a person that was average, okay, not giving you any headaches, but they were just average? I probably would, because if he was on a baseball team, nobody would let him play.
Yep.
We seem to, it's okay to do this in sports, where if you have a weak player on your team that isn't making any points, you keep them on the roster. It's not okay to do it in sports, but it seems to be okay to do it in business, because this is people's jobs. What do you think that basketball player does for a living? He's getting paid. He's got a contract.
Yep.
So when the organization rises, when you got a guy on a team like we did on the Heat, where you got LeBron and you got Dwayne and you got these three guys all together on a team, and there's that chemistry, and he raises everybody above, that guy who just can't handle that kind of, he's going to have to move on. And that's how you win championships.
Yep.
And that's how you build championship teams. And people can't seem, their sports. I mean, we got a country that is sports fanatical, and they can't transition the coaching and the teaching and the training and all of these things from sports and transition it into business and have that same attitude. Yep. That one is just bewilders me, to where I'm constantly, my business is constantly coaching, not training, but constantly coaching, and sometimes on stupid stuff. Like, why'd you do that? I don't know.
I can think of a few things like that.
Yeah. Like even simple things like we don't think about. We were just having a discussion with Paul Alley, and he says, it comes down to creating a culture of servant people, but he gets it because he's a believer. He's a strong believer. And we understand this whole issue of servanthood and being a servant. And most people don't get it. They're just, I'm out for myself. And he started talking about, hey, the most impressive things is like, hey, the customer left their trash bin on the corner. Bring it in for him. Yeah. Simple things like that have nothing to, like, my guy, every time we get called back, I always prove my point. I says, what did that have to do with pest control? He knocked on the door. She was inside. She waved at him through the window. This was just recently, okay? Yep. She waved at him through the window, and he waves back and doesn't go back to the door to talk to her and see, is everything okay inside? He was expecting her. Why didn't she just tell me to come on in that she had a problem? So the next day I get the call, and it's like, hey, your guy was here, but I think we miscommunicated, and I was having a roach inside, and I wanted him to come back. And he didn't think for a minute, let me just go to the door and just talk to her, because we're so focused on doing the work instead of being humans. And he's 25. He's 25. And knock on the door. He's 25 and she's 85. Culturally,
very different.
So that's how do you can't teach that from a manual. This is coaching. This is, next time you go back and you talk to them and be warm and pretend that's your grandmother.
So what we do on that is every single time we do a service, we have to knock on the door.
Yeah.
I don't care what we're there for. If it's a mosquito service outside, obviously we're not going to do anything inside.
Right.
Still got to knock on the door, because you don't know what's going on. What if there's termites inside and you miss out on a big old sale?
Yep. Yeah.
What if they
we have that policy. We have that policy. He knocked. She's old. It took her half an hour to walk through that house. She saw him from the window and waved, and it's like, next time, just, with somebody, go back and said, I'm going back, and talk to them about, she's, walking through her house. I mean, she's an old lady. And so this
Yeah.
is like customer service. And where is this in a manual, in a customer service manual? It isn't.
It's not.
You got to cut it. So people don't have the patience for coaching. They want to tell the technician, this is, you're supposed to be wired with this, like I'm wired with this. Realizing that you've got 25-year-olds who've had 2 jobs in their life. One of them was, serving coffee and, at Starbucks.
One of them was pushing carts.
Pushing carts. Yeah, I've got a job pushing carts. But he's got the right makeup because he's loving, he's kind, he cares. He was the one that was just texting me while you were like, hey, that job was for today. He's on top of it when it comes to this is what I have to do. It's not for Thursday, it's for today. So I had to go change that back. Oh, by the way, the address is wrong on this. You need to fix it.
Yep.
The technical part, he's like, bang, bang, bang. He'll follow directions to a T. If I tell him to do A, B, C, and D, but somebody throws a wrench, a biological wrench into this project, oh crap, what do I do? And that's where experience is going to come in the next 5 or 6 years. If he said, but he isn't going to be around that long because he is a college student studying to be a physical therapist.
Oh yeah, he's gone.
But I'm still going to train him the best I can. I'm still going to pour myself into him while I have him here. And then he's going to be gone. Why would you do that? Because that's the right thing to do. Because that's what's best for your client.
He's going to need to know that stuff to be a physical therapist.
Yeah, I told him, I have conversations with him. I said, listen, everything I'm pushing you to do is going to help you down the line in your career.
Yep.
This is not, I'm not being selfish here about my company, me. I'm looking out for you because you're a great guy. I want you to succeed and you're going to be able to succeed, but understand you have to have these disciplines, time management and dealing with people, not being technical. This is going to be your physical therapist. You're touching people's body, bedside. We always complain about the doctor's bedside manner. You've got cancer and you're going to die. And we don't realize that that's not what most patients are needing. That you need that, but if you have the great bedside manner, that's what makes you exceptional doctor from the point of the client, not the fact that you saved his life.
Well, not just that. It's been proven if you're a doctor and you spend 1 minute just talking, chit-chatting with your patient, you're massively less likely to get sued.
Yeah.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
It's been proven time and time again with studies.
Well, we're looking at all the studies in the pest control, how people get sued.
Yeah.
It's usually because you just refuse to go back and address the issue, especially in termite. If you're busting, if you get a complaint and the customer sees you're busting your butt because this was more complicated, we didn't realize. Remember, we are in a visual business, what we can see on inspections. When we do a termite inspection, it isn't, we have an x-ray into that wall to see if that carton is there. We don't know. We just see the evidence and we never know how bad it is. We're buying a home that we didn't realize had this extensive damage because we didn't ask all the right questions. Have you seen that it's had 4 pest control termite companies in the past 5 years? That's a red flag for you. Like, do you want this account?
Yeah. But
if you're busting your butt, the chances of that thing ever coming to a lawsuit is going to be slim to none.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing things the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
In Virginia, it's legal to not, as long as the label doesn't exclude it from being legal, as long as it's not expressly forbidden by the label, you can undertreat for termites in Virginia. And it's crazy to me that that's okay. So you have companies spraying just way below label rate on stuff, not putting enough water in the ground, like physically not putting enough gallons per linear foot per foot of depth.
Yep.
They're not doing it. Their excuse is the soil can't take that much water. Like, yeah, it can. You're just lazy.
Yeah. No, and here's the worst part. We were just having this discussion with Paul Bello at the conference regarding termites and why after you've trenched a year later in a certain area, you're still seeing tunnels and tubes after you've down rotted, you've done everything. And he says it's very simple. There's only so much active ingredient at 600 parts per million in this case, fipronil. Well, when they're tunneling, and you've got a massive amount of pressure, and they're tunneling through all that, and they're picking it up on their body, and it's being
Oh, for sure.
degraded. And well, it gets to the point there's no chemical left.
Yep.
So you have no chemical in that area because of all that activity. It's gone. And that's why you're having a failure. Did the chemical fail? No, we just don't know the amount of pressure that there is with all that amount of termite. You're going to have to go back and do a retreat on that. And if you're putting less chemical into the ground because you're trying to save it, you're doing a 3% because you're being greedy, because you don't want to do, especially if you have an active infestation in a home, you're not doing a preventative, and you're not doing 6%. How do you know how much is going to be left over in a year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah.
When all the laboratory study is saying 5 years, but that's not guaranteed all the way around. Is you're cutting your dosage. So yeah, man. So it's scary that these companies do all this, and they're wondering why they're having so much trouble and so many problems. But that's when you're doing it to yourself.
Yep.
And that's different than, oh, we failed. If you failed because the product failed, because because of something that we could not foresee, but you're going back and you're addressing it and you're solving it, and the customer knows that, that's fine. You're going to be, you're going to be okay. You can still be sued for anything in this country. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
I don't like your smile. You can be sued, but the reality is that if we're doing our jobs and we're doing it following a protocol on how we do this, that failure rate that shrinks down, so that you're dealing in that 5 to 6% game now. You're not in that 20 to 50% game. So yeah, bro, it's not easy. But it sounds like you're having a ball. It sounds like you're living the dream.
Yep.
What are your next steps? What are you envisioning for your next year or so?
Next year or so, if I'm right, we're going to probably 4x in size this year.
That's crazy. Doesn't it scare you?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. But
it scares the crap out of me. To be honest, I was hoping a 50% increase this year.
So we did what we did last year with not even 100 reviews on Google and maybe 100 or 200 on Thumbtack, because that was by and large our highest volume lead source.
Right.
We did all of that with one location with like 100 reviews. We have 4 times as many reviews on Google. We just finished getting a 3rd Google location up. Earlier was our 4th location that I'm working on.
Right.
For Google. So we can get more local traction with the GMB.
Right.
And we're doing more Yelp locations. We ramped up Angie's List. We, like, you name it, we're ratcheting it up on the cost-effective things.
Right.
Not everything I've done is paid off, but now I know the stuff that doesn't work, so I cut that out and I'm ramping up the stuff that works.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, people think like the failure rate on a lot of the things we try is high, but that's where you learn. And you're not going to learn from success. You're going to learn more from failure. And there's a lot of it you got to test to and fail at it, and that's okay. Let's talk about employees, because you're in a unique position. You obviously already have experience in hiring and getting good people.
Yep.
How you doing it?
Indeed.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still favorable till Indeed. However, you're going to get like that same amount of,
I have
dirt,
to add
dirt.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I hired a couple of my brothers right away.
Okay. Well, that's good.
I hired 3 of my brothers. I hired my wife.
Okay.
And 2 of my 3 brothers have totaled a truck. Neither of those ones are working for me anymore. I have stories for days, but I needed them, but I'm glad they're gone.
Right.
it's, as far as the best producing source of employees, it's definitely been Indeed.
Right.
But I play a very aggressive ground game on Indeed. I don't pay for it. I haven't needed to because we've been able to get the candidates.
Yeah, we've been able to do the same thing. I haven't paid for ads. I'll get 1,000 candidates easy on one posting.
Oh yeah. We don't get that unless it's customer service. We literally had
Yeah.
on a short posting is probably 700-800 applicants, because customer service, we have it completely remote. But for technicians, we post in every large city in our service area.
Yeah, I did a test I did a test and I posted one ad in every city, all 66 of them.
Yep.
For the county to get, because we're a remote business. I mean, you're going to have to travel to somewhere to get the vehicle. It doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah.
So we just posted one on every city. So I had 66 ads running for free, but they're for 30 days, and then you gotta update them. So
you get the best traction the first few days that a post is up, but you still get good response for up to a week afterward. So the way I do it is they apply, I send them a message, and every week I refresh the posting. But I send them a message saying, hey, you have to take these assessments. If you don't take the assessment, I'm not even considering you. And we test for reliability. We test for customer focus and orientation. Those are the specific assessments that we have to take.
Yeah. Are you using the Facebook assessments, or are you paying a company for assessments?
No, we're doing the Indeed assessments.
The Indeed assessments. Okay. Oh yeah. Sorry. Facebook. Indeed. Yeah. Indeed assessment.
I clarified it because I knew that's what you meant.
Yeah.
I use those assessments, and if they don't test high enough on it, they get rejected.
Right.
It's not worth wasting my time, my service manager's time. We have team leaders. The teams are super small. It's really just them and maybe one or two other people, depending on the location. We're developing them into managers. So depending on whether we need people or not, that determines what assessment score we'll interview them with. So if they test proficient on both of them, if we need people, we'll interview everyone proficient enough. If we're just interviewing to look for great people, then they have to get at least highly proficient on both of the tests.
Yeah.
Because if you can't show up, you can't work for me. And if you suck with customers, I don't want you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The customer service part is crucial for us. I started doing from the get-go the same thing. I just started doing it with a private company. We use Criteria Corp because it analyzes it on so many dimensions. Our profile is 75 minutes because, again, we have that higher. I mean, we're servicing the top 1% to the top 5% of the money makers in our area. And
you need technicians that are on their game.
Because if they don't know how to deal with, if you don't know how to deal with a power person, and you're going to fall apart. And so we try to then develop on that. Hey, you got another call?
Of course I did. Of course I got another call.
By the way, I'm going to leave all that in here. I'm not editing that out. So
that's fine.
It's raw, so I don't care. So my thing is, I want people that can think.
Yep.
And if you can't think, you don't even qualify. Like, I've been using the models. I don't know if you follow these two guys. I've been following for a long while, Blue Sky.
Okay.
Blue Sky Cleaning. They're out of I think they're more west to Midwest. I think they're like Chicago, Milwaukee.
I think I've heard the name, but I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know them.
They're a cleaning company. I mean, when you're in the service business, people think like we got something exclusive for pest control that we need. We need soft skills that transition across anything that's service oriented. But when
Right.
when I think, because I've been a manager and I've been, managing fleets and different things, uh, I look at the person who can be a manager, even if they don't think they're a manager, but they have the soft skills inside of them.
Yep.
As a coach, my job is to find them and bring them out. And what I look for is people that can think, that have a set of soft skills. And I've been following these guys on how they do their ads. And also Tommy Mello, I don't know if you're following him from
Yep.
Home
His
Service
podcast.
Millionaire.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got a door, garage door company.
Yep.
I think that one's like 30 million bucks a year. So I follow those two guys on how they are recruiting and hiring. I started listening to them 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yep.
And basically you make the ad campaign in a way that the people have to follow the process. Because if they can't follow the hiring process, are they going to follow your protocols?
No, they won't.
Are they going to trench right? Are they going to drill right? No, they're going to do, whatever I feel like this morning. This isn't a feelings game. So what I do is I automate that whole process where I put a link to an automatic interview.
There you go.
And if you don't go there and you don't take the video interview, you're not qualified. It's been and simple. So I eliminate all the guys that are emailing me and it's like, your link doesn't work. Well, if you can't figure out in 2021 how to copy and paste a link, you're not a thinker. You can't even think. So that disqualifies you. If you're calling me back and saying, hey, I want an interview with you tomorrow, you bypass.
That's how it works.
You're going to bypass everything I ever tell you and try to get around everything. So the whole psychology is built into the hiring process. And then I've got an assessment where I give 2 personality profiles on customer service because it ranks you on it. But what I'm looking for is high management skills. If you can't manage your time, you can't manage inventory, you can't manage making sure that truck's clean, you can't manage the customer. You're managing literally. I look at it this way, I'm handing you a mobile business that you are. This is why I'm learning I'm talking to a lot of companies that have 10, 20. I have one company that has 30 employees. Great. I don't know if you can hear the drilling, but I've got dishes installing in the building, their new broadband service. So they just started drilling. It's going to be great. I think we can make it through if I get this closer. But they've got 30 employees. They've got 6 office people, 1 service manager.
Yep.
They don't have managers in the field. They don't have service managers. They don't have like the 5 to 1, 5 to 10 service managers. They don't have them. Why? They have a culture and they hire for that culture. And she says, we've had to hire 8 people this year. In 2021, we've already hired them. And people are saying we can't find people to work. And they don't need to be managed. I got a guy out in California who's got 10 technicians, no service manager. He doesn't have an operations manager. He's got 4 office ladies and himself. And he doesn't do a darn thing. Yep. He's running around in his Lamborghini most of the time. He literally goes out in his car and sees a tech working, and he'll just sit there and watch him work. And if he decides he's got the right stuff from watching him work, he goes and poaches him. Of course, when you show up with a Lamborghini and a business car and he says, here, I want you to work for me. Literally, that's how he does it, dude. I'm not kidding you. He's out in this $115,000 Mercedes running around town. Literally, this is what he does. He does 0 advertising, all SEO and Google. That's it. And he has to hire 4 people this year.
Yep.
And he's got 10 already. He's growing that much. And people are saying we can't find people. No, you don't have a process.
Yeah, you just don't know how to find them. They're there.
They're there. Yeah. The waitress, the waiter at a bartender.
those are the best customer service reps.
Yeah. Yeah. And because they understand where their bread's buttered.
Yep.
And
They sure do.
that's what I'm thinking, bro. There's so much stuff that people are like killing themselves about. It's like, I'm relaxed most of the time. You don't see me going crazy. I mean, we got enormous margins. Like, how can you do it with just 2 techs? We have darn good margins on our product. So we don't have to, I only have to sell half of what everybody around me has to sell. So when the guy says, I need to sell this many a day, I need to perform these many services a day, I don't need 15. We do the same amount with 10 to 12.
There you go.
It's just slower, like molasses. But you have to be, so if you get impatient, like I want to build, and you lose your freaking mind. If I'm like, no, I got 6 months to hire the right guy, and I can afford to hire 3 of them, spend $2,000 recruiting them, and spend the next 40 days evaluating them, and then just fire them and say, you're not going to work here.
Yep. We lose a lot of technicians because people always put their best foot forward, right?
Yeah.
Interview.
Right.
You do not get the same person, I'm convinced. There's entire industries created around getting people to pass interviews and put a super good first impression.
Yeah.
I've seen people show up. It's like they're a completely different person when they show up for their first day.
Yeah.
We've multiple people fired them after one day.
Yep. That's the way you have to do it.
It's not the same person.
Yep. That's why I like the personality profiles. You can't, I have a guy he's going on route to be 3 million. He wouldn't use the profiles. And I said, dude, you had 100% turnover in a year. And I said, bro. Yeah. And I know what it is. And I've been consulting him on it. He's brilliant at marketing. He can get the customer in the door.
Yep.
He's just not good with people. And he needs to hire the talent. And he wants to be he's a business owner. He's not an operator.
Yep.
And there's a difference between an operator and being a manager and being an executive, a CEO. He wants to own the business. He wants somebody else to run it. And I said, you got to do it this way. And I said, look at the profiles. And I said, and he's going to hire like this manager deal. He sends me the profile first. Says, would you hire this guy? And on 9 out of 10, I told him no. I said, here's why. This, look at all this. He says, yeah, but he's got so much experience. I said, no, he's existed in a company for 5 years. That doesn't make him experienced. He doesn't have the right stuff. His resume looks pretty impressive. But when I look at this, I said, look at this. The guy's non-compliant. You're never going to.
Technicians we have, no experience.
We hire with no experience. We train them all up.
They don't have bad habits.
Exactly. So all these guys, he's hired all the branch managers. I mean, he's hired all of the service managers from all these companies thinking he can just add water in these guys. The problem is when you talk to them, they know less about pest control than the technicians he now has. I don't know how these guys ever made it. But the reason is they'll hire through a warm body. The service manager just quit. John, you're my next service manager.
Yep.
That's it, because we need one. We have to comply. We have to have a service manager. And you're now the server. He has no management experience, doesn't know how to deal with people. But because he's a pretty decent technician, we put him in that role. And that's what he's been. So now it's like, slow it down. Now I said, you need a technical director. And you need with your culture, you need a technical director and you need a headhunter full-time. Because he needs 4 people within the next 2 months. And I said, you got a culture that's high pace. And here's the problem. The majority of society is not high paced anymore. They're actually figuring out how they can work less. They read the 4-hour work week and they want to be that. And I said, you need a high paced guy like me who's energetic, who's like at 100 miles an hour all day long. And you're going to have to go through 1,000 to find that guy, but you don't have the patience to find him. And you're not even using. And I said, pump $3,000 into ads for Indeed and put out like 20 ads. And you'll get people in the, you'll get people in the pipeline. It's just that it's like, I look at it like mining for gold. You got to move 10,000. You got to sift through a lot of dirt to find that nugget. And then after you find it, you still have to refine it.
Oh yeah. It's not ready.
It's not ready. So these people are like, I can't find people. I says, no, you don't have a process. That's why you can't find people. Yep. So yeah, bro. So, you're obviously doing a lot of things right. And it's
Right.
pretty cool. And it's pretty cool, bro. It's pretty exciting to see you doing that. And especially when you're going neener, 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 you know, I don't have a degree. You know, a lot of people think, well, you got to have a degree. You got to have this, you got to have that. Cause those are, you know, I have people with MBAs trying to work for me right now as technicians.
I've found MBA technicians are the worst.
I know.
Don't even do it.
Yeah, no, I don't. I've had one lady who is an educator who wants to get out of education, and she actually has a degree and wanted to work for me. I'm like, do you realize this job pays like $40,000 a year to start? Which
Can't
if
even
you're
afford your student loan payment.
yeah, I mean, like, you know, why would you want to work and usually because they're burned out, they're done, and
Yep.
you know, is that going to make you a good employee if you're burned out, but now you got to lose half of your income? Are you really going to be happy? Can you really like be like, I'm a real simple guy, dude. I mean, to me, it's food, bed, phone. You know, I don't need a whole lot to be happy. None of the stuff I own, you know, I mean, I'm a minimalist at heart. Um, I'm just as happy with a Toyota Corolla than I am, you know, driving a Kia, you know, Sorento. It means nothing to me. So you know, it's like, can you live a lifestyle? That's why I've been able to do what I do, because I don't have a lifestyle that I need to wear a Rolex or prove something to somebody. You know, take out my 100,000 out of the bank so I can show it on camera and look at all the cash and put it on my bed that we made in the last, you know, like these idiots are doing on YouTube. You know, renting out a Lamborghini for a weekend just to say how successful their business is. I had one guy that wanted to do a podcast. He's a mental a coach that teaches how to people to deal with their beliefs about money. Okay. But he can't afford good internet to get on my podcast. You know, he was trying to do it on from somewhere remote that in, you know, and I'm like, dude, who are you trying to kid? You know, you're trying to do a conference that nobody's showing up to, and everything is so messed up on social media that everybody thinks. You know, I sat around the table at this conference, dude, with guys who have 30 technicians, and I would never guess it. And guys who have
at the same one 6 months ago. So
you went to the Paul Bello conference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
October.
I
only didn't go this time because we just had a baby. So.
Oh yeah. No, I get it, bro. That's brutal. But yeah, I mean, you're sitting around this table and at the same time you're like, dang, this is amazing. And then at the same time you're humbled that you're sitting around that much talent, because this is the top 1% that goes there. It's not the guy who's, I want to spray baseball. I mean, I got guys who have really successful companies with just 5 technicians.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're filthy rich because of the market they're in and that. And then you've got another guy right across the table. I mean, one guy was sitting across the table from me. I think he's got like 5 technicians. He was in business in 1974. I was still in diapers.
Right.
And this is the most, like, the kindest, like the most, he's like the most gentle soul I've ever met in my life. And you sit around that and you're like, sometimes it was almost in tears.
Yep.
Because it hits you, bro, that, dang, you know, these guys have done, you know, they're not the biggest company, but they've had their technicians for 14, 15 years. People love him.
Something, right?
Yeah, right. So, and then you look at the other guy who's got 30, he just bought it, you know, and he's super brilliant. Like, you know, this is like Harvard material.
Yep.
And but again, you would never probably guess it. And, you know, so you're sitting around all these great people at this conference. You're having these great conversations. Besides, what are you using to kill that bug? You know, you're getting into a deeper level of this conversation where you're getting down to the soul stuff that matters.
Yep.
I thought, to me, that was like the most, other than getting screamed at by Paul. If you're going to this, I got to warn people, if you're going to go to this conference, to the Paul Bello conference, Paul Bello is a New York Italian. Okay. Yep. He will rip you a new one. very, very quickly. But it's almost comical because I already know him, and people are like, for the first time, like they're, I could just see the poop just dropped into their pants as they were sitting there. The way he talks, he's very, very colorful. But yeah, man, I mean, I mean, and a lot of the guys I already knew that were in that conference. We talk a lot, but it was, to have Paul Alley. I mean, he's been in business 30 something years in New York. That's really the stuff that and what I don't know, have you ever been to like an expo or you've been to Pest World?
Yep.
Okay. Pest World is like, but basically like nonstop promotionals. I mean, literally like watching. Yeah, it really is. It's really, there's very little actual substance of real content that you can either use to grow your business. This is what the Paul Bello conference is about growing your business. I've been to the expo, I've been to 2 of them. And then you're like from one conference to the next, thinking you're going to get all this great knowledge. And I was like, dang, I could have watched 20 YouTube videos and gotten the same information.
There's nothing more bang.
Yeah, there's nothing really there from that perspective. But it's where you go to the conference and then you go and have these conversations with the people. The problem is there's just so many and you don't know who knows what. So, and there's not enough time because they don't give you enough time with all the activities keeping you busy. And then the vendors are complaining they don't have enough time with people. This is more very intimate. This is, if you're looking at really, really, really growing this and really taking like the next level, that's where I would probably go. I mean, I'm waiting for the October one. They're going to do it in Florida again. I think they like Florida because people like coming down for vacation and enjoying, because a lot of people coming from the north are snowed in. So, and they might as well use their, because there's only 2 days. It's like half day, 8 o'clock in the morning till 12. And then you're free the rest of the day for 2 days. And if you come for vacation, well, you should take those 2 days and then you write off the entire conference for vacation. And that's it. And then you spend the rest of your week having your vacation. So, yeah, bro. So, hey, bro, anything we didn't talk about? I mean, I'm sure we can share a million horror stories over the last couple of years.
No, if you want me on again, this was like 2 hours, a little less because I'm a putz and didn't schedule with Google My Business taking so much time in mind. But yeah, do you have any questions?
No, man, I think we've pretty much answered a lot for the time we've been on, but anything you want to say? Any thoughts before we close?
No, it's just nice talking to you. It's obviously I see you a fair amount on Facebook and stuff, so it's cool talking to you, getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, man. No, I really appreciate having you on and you taking the time. I know that you're busy, busier than I am for sure, with everything you got going on. I'm just trying to enjoy this phase in my life. For the next phase, I'm really taking some time to mentally and emotionally, from a lot of things that have happened in the last 2 years, to deal with. Just taking some time to reflect. And what's really fulfilling me at this point is having the conversations with people that we've been having, that had on the weekend, having you on the podcast, seeing young people like you. I mean, I'm 50, dude, so everybody is young for me. But seeing you doing this, actually going out there and making it happen, building that business, making it happen. I'm doing more mentoring and coaching as I get older. And I'm enjoying that phase. I'm enjoying this phase in my life more than anything else. Probably the time that I enjoyed the most in my life, believe it or not, is when I was a youth pastor.
Okay. I didn't know you did that.
Yeah, I did it for 4 years. I was in youth ministry for about 10 years.
Okay.
I did anything from elementary, little kids, all the way up to college, and taught, and that was, to me, the most rewarding time in my life.
Oh yeah.
More than business, more than career. It just didn't pay the bills. Unfortunately, that's the reality. And I still do it. I still do, but I think I'm more into entering into a mentor role in my life, where you're going to learn more from my mistakes than you are going to learn from my success.
Yep.
And I've been talking to people. I got people like building $100,000 company, people building $3 million companies,
Yep.
that are talking to me because because I haven't built a 3 million. It's like, how many coaches do you know in any professional sport that have actually played the sport and have actually won a championship? Not that many. They're good at doing one thing, bringing out in people the best they have to make them work. And a lot of the conversations I'm having are gut wrenching. I mean, like, you're a putz. You don't give a crap about your employees. You only care about the business growth. This is what you need to change in your company. I'm that kind of consultant. Like, I had one across the table, like, dude, your SEO sucks. Nothing's happening. You're wasting your time. You got 41 clicks. Dang, now I'm discouraged. Well, I'd rather you be discouraged and cut your losses and move on than pump you up and say, you can do it, be a Tony Little,
Yeah.
That's not me. I'm looking at your finance. I'm looking at your P&L. I'm looking at I'm walking into your company. I spent 3 weeks at your company doing consulting, and I'm looking at all your cultural issues and the problems that you're having and why you have 100% turnover rate. And the problem is you. And look you straight in the eye and say, you're the problem. You can't blame anybody else here but you. This is what you need to change. And 6 months later, seeing little baby steps of that change happening, I think that's more rewarding to me than anything else. I enjoy seeing people succeed and them being successful than for me to say, look how successful I am. It doesn't motivate me. Like, we can do stuff and like, oh, great, we accomplished it. I get more excited when my guys come to me and say, man, look what I did. Because they got it. That to me is like, that's the rewarding part, I think. So I don't know, bro. We're gonna have to do this again. I think we'll have to do this again, let's say in a year, and I think you tripled in size. And then we can have other conversations on something different. Yeah, we can, because it will. The dynamics of your business are going to change when you triple. Every time you do 3x, you got from 3 employees to 6 employees to 9 employees. All that, your company is a totally different company.
Oh yeah, it's
at that
I'm
point.
already seeing the changes.
Yeah, it's totally different. And a lot of the people that started with you won't be happy with those changes.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, and that's the hard one, because they're loyal to you, but they can't grow with the company. They mentally and emotionally, they can't grow in that aspect of what's needed of them. And it's no longer the same company. It's no longer the same culture. It changes, and they're going to move on, and that's normal. It's normal. So great having you on, bro. Give us the name of your company again.
Miche Pest Control.
And you're in
DC, Maryland, Virginia.
Maryland, Virginia. And what's your website?
MichePestControl.com.
There you go. So if anybody's looking for a pest control company in that area, that'd be awesome.
There we go.
Good to have you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care, man. And go get back on that GMB. Take care.
I will.
All right, bye.